Hi and welcome to the third lesson in the family topic. This lesson we're going to look at the functions of the family, focusing on Marxism and feminism. So as a starter, have a go and see if you complete the sentences that summarise the kind of Marxist theory. So Marxism and the theory of society, which argues that it's based on blank between the blank class and the blank class. So can you work it out? I'll give you a few minutes. So, as a kind of recap, we did touch upon this in our introduction topic, but what is capitalism? So if I give you some pictures to kind of think about. What is capitalism? So, capitalism is all about the pursuit of profit. So it's where private owners invest their money in businesses and they're all about making money and a profit. So, have a little think, what do I mean by a private owner? Who would be a private owner? Think about, can you give some examples? So, these are two people that you could use for an example. They are Richard and Maurice McDonald, and they are obviously founders of McDonald's. Is that obvious? And obviously they are billionaires. I think probably dead by now, but yeah. So, what I think might be quite a nice idea is if you split your page or come up with two columns, one that says ruling class and one that says working class. So, don't need to write anything yet, so this is just some ideas. So, ruling class, they pretty much own the big businesses, they employ people to work for them, they give their employees a small wage, and they make huge profits from their labour. Here's some examples. And the working class, they work for the big businesses, they earn a small wage for their work, they're really unable to change their position, and they're, in most cases, exploited. So, I'm going to give you a list of sentences. All you've got to do is put them into your right column. So which ones are explaining bourgeoisie, the ruling class, and which ones are explaining the proletariat, the working class. So, upper or middle classes, non-owners of production, owners of wealth, working or lower classes, earn a minimum wage, are exploited, owners of production, make massive profits, exploit the proletariat, and own nothing and therefore are forced to work. So have a look at the sentences and see if you can work out which side you would put them on. So, I don't know why the animations on this is weird, but I'll do the working class first as they're already on the page. So, they don't own any means of production, they don't really own anything, so are forced to work. They're pretty much working class or lower class, they're earning a minimum wage, and are often exploited by the bourgeoisie. So the ruling class, in comparison then, would be the owners of production. They have the wealth, they're upper or middle classes, they make profits, they exploit the proletariat. And if we're going to kind of try and extend this, so Marxists argue that all parts of society help to maintain these differences. So try to keep the rich people rich and the poor people in their position. So think about, how does the family keep the rich rich? So have a little think. Can you come up with any ideas? So, if we do like a mini recap, can you remember what the four functions of the family were that Murdoch said? Hopefully. So, these were sexual, reproductive, economic, and socialization. So, Marxists, unlike functionalists, don't view the nuclear family as really being that important for society to work. They see the family as something really that supports capitalism. So it's all about private property, conflict, and we're going to look at these in a bit more detail. So, the way we're going to do this is you will have this as an A3 sheet, or you can make notes on the computer, you can do it in your book. If you're using this for revision, you should have this big A3 sheet that we did in year 10. So, each of these different shapes represents a different function of the family in how the family helps with capitalism. So, first one then. So families are seen as consumer units. Basically, what it means is families go out and buy stuff. If you live with lots of people in your family, you have to buy more stuff. So a family-sized car, a larger house, bigger packets of food. So capitalism needs people to buy products, so therefore the family is helping capitalism. So again, you've got some examples there. I'm sure most of you would say, though, that the Doritos, even if it's family size, or the chocolate if it's family size, is still not for sharing. But supposedly these all are family sized. Second one, capitalism helps in terms of with resources. So basically, Marxists are arguing that if all resources were kind of communal, if we had to share everything equally, everyone had an equal chance at things, then they'd be kind of allocated according to need rather than the ability to pay. So if you think about it, it's helping capitalism because in areas where you've got good schools or good nurseries, families are going to compete for those kind of places. And again, that is helping with the economy. So by having families, they are being used to kind of compete for those areas. So this is quite a good example. So if you look here on the map, you can see apparently the darker green you are, is the more desirable area is in terms of living for schools. And again, parents kind of fighting for kind of school places and nursery places in terms of making sure that their kids go to the best school. This is all helping fuel capitalism because then those businesses are going to be more successful. Housing prices, for instance, in areas that are more desirable, so for instance Little are going to help the economy. Next one, private property. So private property is quite an important asset in terms of wealth. So this is generally passed down. If you've got nuclear families, it's passed down onto people's heirs, and you can keep your wealth within your family because you would pass it down onto your oldest son. Obviously, women can now inherit property as well. But, it's all about making sure that you have your family home and it is passed down onto your next generation. So keeping wealth very much in your family. The pictures, I read an interesting article where it was talking about how royalty women, women used to have lots and lots of people in the room when the child was born, so that it was kind of proof that that was their child and, wasn't being replaced with a random child, or, it was basically legitimizing the child and saying that actually it is whichever king's child it would be. And obviously, about passing houses down onto your family members. So Marxists also talk about the idea that primary socialization is about kind of getting you into your social class. So families teach you your social class. And if it's about inequalities, they teach you those inequalities as well. So it's making sure that you are socialized and brought up into a way that, you have to go and work. You'll probably, most of us will be in kind of full-time jobs and things like this, and you are kind of taught that from quite a young age. So if you have a look at the picture, this is kind of reiterating this idea of you are kind of taught about capitalism and inequality and things like this from a young age. So kids from a very young age recognize big brand names. So like McDonald's is a really recognizable company from a really young age in children. Also, increasingly you've got more and more kind of excuses for people to spend money on children. So like Easter, now people, rather than just getting an Easter egg, you're getting an Easter basket with loads of toys and things like this. Obviously, some people see Christmas as a kind of competitive sport and, how many presents can I buy for my child? And the final one. So families support capitalism by providing unpaid labour. So particularly women, we are making sure that, we're providing workers, so the next generation, but also making sure that workers are ready for their day at work. So, providing all that stuff that we do at home, whether it's making sure people have got lunches, that they've got uniforms ready, that they're, emotionally okay to go to work. And I think this picture kind of summarises that quite nicely. So, some criticisms then. This pretty much ignores other reasons for getting married. So, it talks about the idea of, people get married so that they know who their heir is so they can pass it down. It's not always about that. Some people get married because they really like a big dress and a big party. Also, inheritance tax. So yes, you can say, well, inheritance is there just to keep the rich wealthy, but actually that is actually taxed and that is then redistributed. Again, it is really overly negative and ignores the positives of the families. Families are providing a lot of emotional support and ignores other factors like things like gender, culture factors, things like that. So, what do feminists think about the family? So, hopefully you remember we've got three main types of feminists that you need to know about for the exam. So we've got Marxist feminists, so they're on about how women are exploited through capitalism. Radical feminists, who are like, we need to just massively reorder society. And liberal feminists, who are focusing mostly on laws and making practical, legal and political changes. So, I don't know why I haven't uncoloured these, but if you look, the different colours would respond to different kind of key points. So all the red ones, you might want to work through this at a slightly slower pace, but all the red ones are talking about some key kind of Marxist feminist ideas about the family. So for instance, the family will benefit men because obviously they don't really have to do much of the housework or the caring for children. So they're empowered as providers, whereas women are doing it all unpaid. The yellow one is talking about obviously liberal and is looking at actually, there is changes, happening, particularly legal changes. And your radical feminists are talking about things like the nuclear family being patriarchal, it's only really serving men. So, how can we criticise feminist theory? So, obviously, some radical Marxist feminists assumes that all male-female relationships are kind of exploiting women. It's not always the case, and actually, a lot of modern families are very much more equal split. Again, there has been massive changes, so, feminism has led to these changes. So, for instance, laws in the workplace, sexism is still an issue, but it is one that, there are laws trying to combat it. So, what I would like, and I think would be quite a nice activity to have a go at if you haven't already, is to create a revision sheet that looks at the kind of three main views on the family. So what functionists think about the family, what Marxists think about the family, and what feminists think about the family so far in terms of what is the function of the family, what is the point of the family. So I would like you to try and have a go at that if you haven't already. So, some little practice questions just to finish off. So, which term is used by sociologists to describe a family with parents and their children? Have a little think. What answer would you go with? Number 2, in the traditional nuclear family, what roles are played by the man and the women? Number 3, what term can be used to explain a lone parent family headed by a woman? So what is the word used if it's a lone parent family and it's by a woman? Which sociologist used the term kind of warm bath? And which theory believes women are exploited by the family? So hopefully for these, you should get 6 out of 6. If you're worried about any of the questions, go back and have a look at some of the previous videos. If you've got any questions, please get in contact. Thanks so much. Bye.